this all leads us to, I think, great anticipation for the cohort B aspect of the trial, which is expected to be reported over the course of the next several months.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Lisata Therapeutics CEO, David Mazzo. David, very good to speak with you again. You're out with preliminary data from your phase 2 pancreatic cancer trial. Are you encouraged by what it reveals?
Stephen, yes, it's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you again. Yes, our ASCEND trial announced preliminary data at the ASCO GI conference in San Francisco. And we are, I would say this, the data is exactly what we had expected. It shows very strong trends in endpoints of efficacy that are very important for future development, specifically a strong trend in the improvement in overall survival of patients who were treated with certepetide and cytotoxics. And also, I think very importantly, in this trial, which was randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled, in this cohort A group, which was 95 patients, 2-to-1 randomization. So about 65 of them, or 63, were on drug or on certepetide with standard of care. The other were on just standard of care. We saw 4 complete responses in the certepetide group, and of course 0 in the standard of care group alone. And that's really, I think, a very important trend. Previously, for example, in the NAPOLI-3 trial, which was the phase 3 trial that was used to get the most recent approval by the FDA for NALIRIFOX in pancreatic cancer, they had 1 complete response out of almost 400 patients. So having 4 out of 63 is really very, very promising. And this all leads us to, I think, great anticipation for the cohort B aspect of the trial, which is expected to be reported over the course of the next several months.
So David, tell us what the cohort B trial then entails compared to the cohort A trial.
Sure. So when we purchased Cend Therapeutics and acquired certepetide, the ASCEND trial was already underway. And upon review of the trial protocol, we recognized that it was missing some important aspects of what would be considered drug developer information, not just sort of academic information. And so we amended that trial to include overall survival endpoints, which is a key regulatory endpoint in the future. But we also added cohort B. So cohort A is a single dose of certepetide in combination with the cytotoxics given at the same schedule as the typical standard of care for the cytotoxics. Cohort B gives a second dose of certepetide 4 hours after the first dose. So still the standard of care for cytotoxics, but essentially a double dose of certepetide. And the idea is to elucidate the pharmacodynamics of certepetide with the idea that if the C-end rule active transport pathway is not open for more than 4 hours, giving a second dose at 4 hours will reopen that pathway and hopefully allow for greater penetration of the co-administered cytotoxics, because they have half-lives that are on the order of 10 to 12 hours. And greater penetration is expected to lead to greater efficacy. And so we're looking at this both from a perspective of identifying the optimum dosing regimen and also maximizing the possibility of efficacy in combination. And that trial amendment was put into place almost when cohort A was completed in its enrollment. So the 2 cohorts, while they're still blinded and randomized and placebo-controlled, they were actually enrolled in sequence. And that's why the cohort A data is available before the cohort B data.
Moving away from the ASCEND trial for just a moment, David, you've just released preliminary results from your iLSTA trial. Could you take us through the iLSTA trial and what that's targeting?
Sure. So iLSTA is being done in conjunction with a foundation in Australia called Warp9, and they've been very generous in funding the trial and working with us on the protocol. But in the end, iLSTA is looking at the ability of certepetide to potentiate or increase the efficacy of cytotoxics in combination with immunotherapy, specifically durvalumab in this case, so checkpoint inhibitors. Historically, immunotherapy has not been very effective in treating pancreatic cancer of any type. And so this is in locally advanced, non-resectable pancreatic cancer, so another pancreatic cancer type. And we have a trial that looks at standard of care alone, standard of care with durvalumab or certepetide alone, and then the combination of all three, certepetide, IO, and cytotoxics. And the first 17 patients now we have data from, and they were announced at ASCO GI in San Francisco. And it shows that in combination with certepetide, the IO treated group with cytotoxics has a much higher rate of partial responses in the early portion of treatment. We're still looking for overall survival data in the long term. And importantly, we were able to do paired biopsies of the patient's tumors pre-treatment and post-treatment. And we are confirming a much greater concentration of the infiltration of cytotoxic T cells into the tumor in the presence of certepetide. So this trial shows that we can potentiate IO, opening up hopefully another potential paradigm for improved treatment for pancreatic cancer patients. It corroborates a plethora of preclinical data that insinuated that this phenomenon would occur, and it corroborates the dual mechanism of certepetide's mechanism of action, targeting and penetration in combination with tumor microenvironment modification.
All sounds very positive, David. I hope you'll keep us updated on progress with both of those trials. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Cheers.
That's Lisata Therapeutics CEO, David Mazzo.